Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the conference today. Let's begin by talking about education in this unusual time. COVID-19 struck the world, first in China and then spread throughout all the continents. Face-to-face education ground to a halt. Classes moved online, chaotically at first as everyone scrambled onto the bandwagon of distance learning. COVID-19 rapidly threw us into a new dimension. We needed to reinvent education quickly to finish the school year. And it is now clear to educators that online education is rather different than face-to-face. In an offline classroom, they see the students' reactions. Students communicate their feelings and their thoughts, either verbally or through body language. That body language and chemistry and dynamics of the relationships in the offline classroom, that's extremely difficult to replicate online, and we now probably know that. Online classes conducted through whatever communication means that you have chosen. Zoom, Google Hangouts, Jeet, Imparters, there's so many of them, many other tools. All of those tools turn you, the educator, into someone on the screen, a talking head. And if your classes were driven by lectures and explanations and memorization tasks, then your online classes probably look the same. Maybe you record your lecture. Maybe you email the worksheets for the students to complete. Maybe you even use an online platform like Moodle or Google Sites, Google Classroom to post your videos and embed the links on the online resources that you have found. And you upload them and you're done. End of teaching. You've prepared your part. Now it's their turn to learn it all and take the final test. Really? That's it? Moving an offline class to an online environment is not that simple. Educators who have conducted online lessons over at least 2 or 3 months, they can feel the strain of those conference calls with some of the students not having access to Wi-Fi or claiming that they don't, not turning in their work, not showing up for class at the designated time, uploading illegible or corrupted homework files. We've been there. And it looks like the pandemic situation, perhaps under more control in some countries than in others, will be influencing the way education proceeds in the near future. Face-to-face lessons will be limited or entirely eliminated for parts of the school year. Online lessons in a variety of formats will remain part of the school reality. So, what strategies can be implemented to ensure that students enjoy active learning, joyfully appear in an online class, and benefit from the plethora of resources the internet provides nowadays? The first thing that comes to my mind is active learning. Active learning translates to 3 ideas: teach less, learn more, facilitate in the classroom. And it doesn't matter if it's online or offline. Because I believe that rather than cram facts into student heads through an hour-long lecture, why not ask open-ended questions? Intrigue the students with a multi-genre, multi-level project that requires the use of a number of skills. And through its complexity, allows natural learning. Another thing is joyful learning. It's that fun and gamification, the collaboration. I don't know. For some reason, when people think of fun at school, they immediately think, but that's just play. Now let's get down into serious learning. As if serious learning couldn't be fun at the same time, huh? To many parents, the word gamification means hours of playing mindless video games. Hello, and as parents ourselves, don't we sometimes spend hours mindlessly playing solitaire with playing cards or on our phones? Educational games and apps have come a long way over the past decade, believe me. They help kids remember new words and concepts. They help make repetition fun and playful. There's a vast array to choose from, with some apps allowing teachers to generate practice sets for their own students and then share these sets with other teachers anywhere in the world for free. And it's magnificent teacher collaboration right there. Helps thousands of others bring fun and games to their own classrooms. The third thing that I'm always concerned about is the benefit. If you've ever walked into a classroom to teach, you've heard that first question. What are we doing today? And the next one, why? Or what for? Making your content relevant and applicable to the lives of your students, that's essential in online learning. It keeps the students engaged and interested, and in some cases, glued to the work, to the learning. Unfortunately, that connection isn't made clear to students often enough, or it simply isn't there anymore, especially if the curriculum requires memorization of facts that are nowadays readily available in seconds with a few clicks on your phone. The role and the focus of the teacher must change from teaching to facilitating learning. Now, here's an example of this type of teach less, learn more, and facilitate learning approach that can be adapted to, I think, any subject or grade level. So after introducing the concept of structured, controlled, and guided inquiry to students in my high school English class, I asked them to collaborate in groups on a chosen Shakespearean play, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer Night's Dream, and Twelfth Night. Usually, I had about 18 to 20 students in my class, so when I divided them into 3 groups, that was more or less 6 or 7 kids per group. The task was to answer questions that made the 400-year-old stories relevant to them. How does literature portray irrational behavior caused by love? What can a 21st century reader learn from the 16th century bard? The students could utilize resources I collected for them in a Google folder, accessible online in the classroom or at home, or they could use resources that they discovered themselves. You can see that they could read a manga version of the play, a cartoon version, an online simplified version, or a retold version in prose. Whatever got them to understand the story worked for me. I was there to facilitate this understanding, answer questions in class or via email or chat. So my role, facilitate, help understand. Then in the classroom, they prepared to present their collaboration outcomes to other groups. They created a group PowerPoint or Google slide presentation. They knew that they would be paired up with someone who read a different story to exchange and share their collected ideas. Subsequent to that, they were randomly placed in larger groups for a Harkness discussion at a round table. I placed a 360-degree camera in the center of the table, and yes, there was cake to share after the discussion. And I filmed not only the speakers, but the listeners as well. The students then watched themselves and analyzed their behavior, not just as speakers, but as listeners as well. What kind of body language am I using as a listener? What messages am I passing to my classmates? The skills that the students needed to employ to complete the task made a lengthy list, including making a variety of choices. Which play to read, which medium to apply, which element of the presentation to complete, which role to play in the group, dividing the labor, who's going to do what, collaborating in and out of the classroom. This task, of course, took several lessons. Working under time pressure to deliver the components by the deadline. Synthesizing everyone's varied input into an idea that I can present on my own based on the presentation. Presenting it in a pair to a peer. Thinking critically and sharing an opinion in the Harkness discussion. Reflecting upon the presentation skills. Analyzing the performance and the body language while listening. And finally, evaluating their own learning. What was my role? My role was to organize and facilitate, to provide a sounding board for ideas as I circulated among the groups in the classroom, to assist with research, to guide those who seemed to veer off the topic, get them off Facebook, to help make better choices by discussing their pros and cons, to nudge the procrastinators, to rein in those who wanted to go the extra miles because the others weren't pulling their weight, to give every student a chance to shine in their own way. I knew who's brilliant in writing and who is good in art and who's musical and who needs to be constantly on the move, kind of guided them towards the tasks that they could do best and shine. Most of all, my aim was to make them love Shakespeare and learn because they want to, for themselves, for their own lives. After all, which teenager hasn't been madly in love and done crazy irrational things because of it? I know I did, told them a few stories, and they all related. And thus, they loved the relationships unit. In an anonymous feedback form, the students said, I really appreciate the teacher making each and every class interesting and applicable to anyone's lives. Truthfully, as a student, I have acquired so much more knowledge about love and relationships and how to make them efficiently work than I have for the past few years. These are the topics that schools lack in informing their students, and the fact that I am able to absorb a teacher's advice for human history and personal experience is purely outstanding. This class has helped me learn more about myself and the world more than any other class I have ever taken. Thank you, anonymous student. Could all of that have been done in an entirely online environment, though? Some elements probably not as easily. Well, let's see. Introducing the inquiry concepts. A short pre-recorded video explanation would do it. So, yes. Introducing the topic, setting the groups and the task, posing the leading question. An online session on Zoom or Hangouts or Skype or whichever platform you might want to utilize. That's a yes. Collaboration on the task. Once the groups are established and the timeline is shared, it's on them. Your teacher role is to facilitate, set up office hours, communication channels, chats, emails, calls, frequent check-in methods so that the students know you're there for them and they can reach out to you without fear. Done. Sharing in pairs. An online session with breakout rooms would do the tricks, and you would be in the breakout rooms listening in. Breakout rooms can also record each pair, so then you can have a look at what exactly happened between these students. Harkness discussion. Another online session would be needed for that, but doable. Now, the monitoring of the listening skills, that would be harder unless you asked every student to also film themselves with their phones as they listen and participate in the discussion. Doable if you value the insight this exercise would bring to your students. I know I did. You could also finish the project with an online whole class discussion session with a few added whistles and bells, like low stakes quiz or a game, to allow everyone to share their opinion. Another alternative could be a blog or a vlog posted by every student, commented on in a forum discussion. Lots of different ideas. Where's the limit? Your own creativity in designing these learning experiences. We hear the word innovation quite often nowadays, and it means different things to different people. I'm interested in what innovation can do for the learner in the classroom. And it doesn't matter if it's the face-to-face or the online. For me, the key idea in learning is to do something with the learning and to do it in an innovative way, engaging way, active way. Students cannot just keep answering questions about what they learned anymore. They cannot be regurgitating facts on multiple choice tests that determine whether they get into college or not. Not anymore. Not in the 21st century. So what do students need to learn in school in the 21st century, and how should they be learning? They need to learn joyfully, with interest and engagement. They need to learn how to search for and sift through and evaluate the content that is available to them all the time, and then create new content. They need to create authentic content for an audience and solutions for practical applications. For example, I don't know, a simple produce cooling system for farmers in tropical countries. They need to learn to tell stories and write stories and share those stories in cross-grade learning groups to create new stories. And of course, learn the concepts and conventions and mechanics to do so. They need to share new ideas that they develop from old ideas and have a reason to do so. And above all, they need to show and share what they know, and they need to learn how to speak in a number of languages, including English. And they need to learn how to persuade and how to negotiate, and they need to learn how to describe and how to explain, and they also need to learn how to listen with understanding and how to read with understanding, and to reflect and to evaluate. And that's it. Now, let's work together and apply these innovative strategies for active 21st century learning and have every student answer in an anonymous survey. Love it, interesting and engaging. This class has allowed me to really explore myself and realize what I truly care about. And that's education in the 21st century. Thank you.